Hello there, and welcome to the JJ Remake, where I look back at some of my old bits of work and, well, remake it. Today we'll be looking at one of probably one of the most recognisable bits of work that I did, the Loud comic. Now, the scene we will be looking at today is this right here. No, not Lenny. This bit. Now, I've seen this redrawn, and I've seen a lot of people refer to this particular panel. And I gotta admit, it is one of my favourite ones. And personally, the reason why it's one of my favourite ones is because when I was doing the Loud comic, from what I can remember, this is the first one I actually tried to put a little bit of effort in. Now, as you can probably see, it's not really that good. When I say it's not really that good, what I mean is, well, you can see there's quite a few mistakes, there's many problems, but what I would like to do is talk to you about where I got this idea from. Not the idea of the comic, the idea for this one scene. Because I spoke about this before on my old Tumblr page, before it all disappeared. I was using some bits from comics or games from my past as bits of inspirations for certain pages. So I will now try to show you where the seed for this image was first planted. Now, you are going to have to excuse me, I'm going to be using my webcam for this, and the webcam is not the best thing to use, but hopefully you'll get my point across. Well, here it is. This is where I got one of the main bits of inspiration from. This is an old, as you can see, it's an old manga comic. It was released in '95. This was just before Ghost in the Shell came out. Look at that, like the next Akira, like it's quite good to look back at some of these old things and be like, wow, like to see the influence they have on everything now. And back then, you say, wow, this is a new upcoming thing. You know, how will it do? So yeah, all that's really good. So I gotta be careful because, of course, it being a manga magazine, it can show some boobies. So I've got to make sure I don't accidentally show that. But I'll show you the thing that I was inspired by. Hopefully, I've got the page marked right. Now, nope, this isn't it. But luckily, there's nothing inappropriate. There it is. All right. Yeah. This was the. This is Akira, which you really should check out. If not for the story, just for the artwork and all that goes into it. I mean, look at all this stuff. It's freaking amazing. Like, I wish I could be at least 2% as good as this. It is just magnificent. So this was kind of a big inspiration for me. But again, let's get back to the topic at hand. Here. Okay. In this particular part, it's all about how Tetsuo, to show off his power, he went to the moon. He literally just flew to the moon, blew a massive hole in it, completely screwed over all the weather on Earth, and just, well, yeah. Anyway, what happened is, since then, his body has been unstable. It's been unable to sustain itself, so it's like absorbing everything around him. It's really weird, so you could probably see all that. And anyway, no one could calm him down. And of course, the girl Kari, which I don't have all the issues, and quite stupidly, I haven't read most of it. But if you've watched the anime, you can see that she was close to him in that. But the anime and the book, vastly differ. Quite shockingly, vastly differ. But of course you got that. But it's the next page that's the main inspiration. Hopefully I can get a good image of it. Just saying, she just got to sleep. I mean, hopefully this, because I'm using a webcam for this, hopefully you can focus a little bit on his face a bit better. Hopefully you can see that. And just how lovely and peaceful she is down there, sleeping. I don't know why, I absolutely, this is kind of something that's stuck into my mind quite a bit. The whole idea of how he, like, just the complete menace of him, just how frightening that image is of him, his arm freaking like trying to take over and destroy everything, absorb it into his own body mass. He is vastly, not vastly different, but he's changed quite a bit. And of course just how lovely and peaceful Kari is, just sleeping there next to him. I like that I can't say bloody words now, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. So yeah, this was what was in my head when I thought about drawing the picture, well, drawing that panel, and hopefully I can explain a bit more, because, well, you'll see. Okay, a little side note here. Back then, of course, you didn't really have the internet, and so trying to get information of stuff where we were in the UK was very difficult. I mean, heck, this magazine, it was my stepfather, he told me that he was only ever able to get it from this one shop on the Isle of Bute in Scotland. It's a tiny island. It's like, not many people know about its existence, and that noise you can hear is Zenny, my rabbit, running about, little bugger. And like, when we left Scotland to come back to England, we were never able to find this magazine again. But anyway, back to what I was saying. This image was this advertisement was in like pretty much nearly every single manga magazine that we had. But it was the only image we had of Goku. Well, not Goku, Dragon Ball. I can't tell if that's Goku or not. See, that's not the best image in the world. I mean, I've even got one issue somewhere where they were actually talking about how, like, oh my goodness, they're actually thinking about bringing Dragon Ball over to the US to see how it does over there. And it's quite fun to look at. Because, of course, the influence, again, as I said before, the influence it has now. And these were talking about, oh, they're thinking about it, we don't know what's going to happen. Oh, just, this is like a treasure trove of absolute fun. I really do need to get a better camera if I do plan to start recording more stuff like that in the future. Anywho, so I buckled down to the task a few days ago of redrawing this panel, but trying to do my best to make sure I got it to what I had in my head originally. Now, you're going to see the process of me making that, and I'll give a few little tidbits of information. So, yeah, I hope you enjoy the show. Well, as we can see here, I started this off with putting down a few guidelines, as it were, trying to set up a bit of a 3D space. I am not good at this. I've really tried to learn about perspective, trying to give things a bit of depth. Now, some people they can pick it up easily, but I just can't seem to do it. I can't seem to like mentally comprehend it. So everything I'm doing here, it's kind of, I taught myself. Like, I've had a look at other pieces of work where they've done it, and I've tried to explain to myself internally
how this was done. So again, it may not be correct, but it kind of works for me, even though I could do a lot better. So, you know. Anyway, one of my first goals with this one was that I wasn't going to be redoing it to make it look exactly as it did before. Because if I was going to do that, I might as well have just imported the original image and used that as a, you know, like a base layer. What I decided to do for this and other videos in the future, I will be trying to use the things that I've learned in order to make a better picture. That's not to turn around and discard the old one. You know, it's always good to see where you came from. But with this one, because I was reminded of what I did in the comic, well, of what happened in the comic, I thought, I'm going to try and redo the image again, but kind of make it a bit more like the comic, in kind of, instead of it having a side view, a full-on view, because the whole point of this, especially in the comic as well, and in this image, we are looking from the perspective of like the intruder, the person who was just walked in on this situation. And because I wanted to do that, I immediately knew that the angle I did the original comic panel in, it didn't work. It was completely wrong. Because if you look back at it, where the hell is Luann looking at? Technically, she's looking at like Lincoln's like dresser drawer. You know, she's looking at all the crap on his wall. She's not looking at Lenny. So immediately I thought, okay then, I guess I'll just have to do that. So that was kind of one of the one things on my mind. I had to remind myself of where I was, what I was trying to do, and try and actually make it look a little bit professional, not be such a hack. Now, for this one, I did use a very hard pen, as you can tell. I didn't use a soft brush, I didn't use a soft pencil. I wanted to go for this hard pen look because I was also thinking about how I used to do my old work, and there was a type of roughness to it, if that makes sense. And I wanted to keep that roughness. And it was through that, like trying to remember that style and what it was I did, kind of go back into how I used to do things. Now, here we go. I believe it is this part. While drawing this, I kind of realised that I did something a bit silly, and I had I'd only done one layer, and then I was trying to do a final layer on top of it. Now that's a bit of a silly thing. Sometimes I can do that, depending how comfortable you are with drawing something. But I normally, if I really want to try and do a good job, I do about 3 or 4 layers. I do a base layer, which is just where I plan things to be. Then I do a very rough sketch layer, which gives me the idea of what it is I'm looking at. And then I do a much more neatened up layer. And then after I've done that layer, I'll do the final one. Now, each layer, things will change. Things will change pretty much each layer, and that's kind of one of the things that was the most difficult for me to learn while I was trying to draw, because this is something that many people don't quite get when they try to draw. They try to get it perfect immediately. The first picture they do has to be flawless. And so you're constantly spending time rubbing out your mistakes. I'm talking about if you're drawing on pencil and paper and all that. But the more you do it, the more you learn. It's a process of layers. People try to ask, how many layers do you need to do? How many layers do you need to do in order to be good. That is completely up to the artist of, the drawing. Such as, if you were ever able to see mine, what I do is the final layers, like the pen layer, I do everything I can to keep that as just one layer. But when drawing and sketching and doing all the other stuff, because I'm so messy and I'm constantly drawing over myself, I'll do a segment and then I'll put down another layer. So if it turns out I did a bit bad and I just quickly had to rub it out or erase it, it's only a small portion of what I've done that will disappear, not the whole image. So for me, it's a big time saver. And as you can see, given the original layer, the first layer to this one, you see there's been more and more changing with each one. And that's something that people are quite scared of. They're afraid of changing things, but work a little loose. Don't give yourself such a tight, not schedule. Just don't be so tight with yourself, because you find that if you're being tight, you can't really do anything. And sometimes the best bits of work I've ever done was when I kind of said to myself, relax, just go ahead, just don't worry about it, just do it. So anyway, back to this. It's weird. Like, I'll draw several times. Like, look at the position of that ear, where I originally drew it, and where it ended up. Again, I looked at it and I thought to myself, the ear shouldn't be there. It shouldn't be there. Lower it a little bit more. You have to kind of remind yourself that mistakes can be made, because of course it's through the mistakes we learn to be better. Now, I'm also trying to learn personally myself about trying to use different thickness of pen for the line art. Some people can do a fantastic job, some people don't. I remember I used to really struggle when it came to the idea of like putting blankets or basically anything covering someone else. So again, this is me trying to teach myself as well to be better, because you don't know, soon in the future I may look back at this and go, oh, I could do better, and redraw it. One thing I have incorporated, as you can probably see in a lot of my work, is I'm doing a lot of like where the lines kind of meet up, I kind of go over them a little bit more to make the joints a little thicker. And that is a really loud car going past my flat, and it completely, for God's sake. Anyway, could be worse, it could be the police. Anyway, one of the main goals I had in mind when doing this as well was trying to picture myself doing this like I used to do my original work on paper, as I said before. The whole idea of trying to do as much as I can just with the pen, trying to give things the texture, try and give it a little bit of depth. And I know this sounds silly, but I love drawing wood. I don't know why. I just love the whole, like, putting the little bits of detail, putting the little a little bit here, a little bit there. I'm always doing stuff like I don't know where it came from for me to do that, but I just really liked it. So whenever I kind of find a reason to do it, I do it. Also, while I was trying to draw this, I was watching Silence of the Lambs, and I gotta admit it was quite difficult. If you haven't seen Silence of the Lambs, I do recommend you watch it. It is a very good film, and Hannibal Lecter is just a complete delight. And how he talks, the things he says, it's always enjoyable. The dirty bastard he is. Anyway, so that's her scrunchie. Because I don't know why that just stuck in my head. I was just thinking, where is her scrunchie? Because I know that originally in the comics she took it off, she put it on her hand. So I'm like, okay, she doesn't have it now. She'll put it somewhere where she can easily find it. Boom, on the floor. Simple. No, nothing complicated. Anyway, so when I try to do as much in pen, I try to think to myself about the shading. Now, of course, the way we're going to be seeing this, as I said before, is from Lenny's perspective. So I try to think to myself, the room won't be completely dark. There will be highlights. So, as you can see here, I try to. I can't. It's weird. It's like there's this old saying about how the sausage is made. Like you'll like it until you see how it's done, and then you wouldn't like it. And I'm not saying it's exactly the same, but that's the kind of idea I had with this. It was the whole thing of, I don't know if I've got this right. I have tried my best to make sure I got it right. So hopefully my intentions actually come off my ideas. So, of course, the idea of where the light will be positioned, where the shadow would be, but I still try to make sure the one important thing I kept in there was the light in Luan's eyes. That is, while it may not be dead center, it is the focus of the picture. There's a lot you can have a look there, but that's the part I want you to kind of pay attention to. Not pay attention to, that's the part I want to grab your attention. I want you to look at the whole picture, I want you to look at everything, but that's the main part. And when it comes to using greys and shades, you talk. I'm a guy that used to do this sort of thing all the time, using pencils and gel pens from Poundland. So I always find this, not find this stuff enjoyable. It's kind of, I feel more comfortable using greys and trying to create a depth, trying to create an image just using greys. I'm still not good with colour. Colour is still a new thing for me. Anyway, we're slowly coming to the end of this. I have no idea if anything I said was useful or if I've just spoken complete and utter bollocks. But as you can see, well, there we go. And we'll look a bit more of it in a moment. So yeah, that was that. Let's have a look at the results. Here we go. Now, when you can look between them, you can see quite a bit of difference. As you can see in this one, I have changed how her eyes, well, of course you can see I've changed how her eyes are. I've actually made her hair look proper. I've changed the way her body is, her hands, because originally the comic, the Loud comic, this old piece of mess, there wasn't much planning in doing it. It was a very spontaneous piece of work, which all my work's kind of spontaneous now. It's just the difference is that when I start to do my comics or quick drawings, I actually tend to put a little bit more time and effort into it, while these ones were literally like 15-20 minute like fast sketches then just thrown on there. And so yeah, well, of course Lincoln, I think someone put it up on I can't remember, I think it was on 4chan, but they were mentioning how my original Lincoln looked like Hey Arnold because he had a flipping football head, and they were right. They were right. But then again, I was using a different tablet, I was working fast, and it was just to get it out there and not to do a good job. But now I'm trying to do a good job, so you know, there is like a vast difference in my work. But I will say, even though I can look back at the original Luan image and see all the problems in it, because, well, I did make it, I will say that I do I do still like it. It does hold a place in my heart because it was one of those moments that so many people responded to in such a way, and I weren't expecting it. And this is why I just do it and move forward. I don't think too much about how people are going to perceive it, except when I do actually sit down, think about it, and put my mind to it. Yeah, the effects are a lot bigger. So I'll have to keep that in mind. So anyway, as we can clearly see, Luan is a very difficult person to deal with. Anywho, that's this episode of JJ Remake over. I hope that it was of some entertainment value and hopefully no kind of educational value. If you do like my work and you want to see previews and stuff of the like, I do have a Patreon link down below. I am working on Patreon stuff, and the support you guys give me is, again, I can't stop singing the praises I get through that, because it just reminds me of how great people can be. And I do have a coffee, which I keep forgetting. Do you know what? I'm gonna have to do a massive upload on there and check it out again, because I think it's changed. Oh bloody hell, I'm rambling and I'm like, it's just been a static image for ages. What the hell am I doing? Alright, then I'll fix that quickly before I go. So, yes, I will hopefully see you guys soon on the next episode. And there we go. Perfect.
Time